This is a test.
Hey fans, welcome back. Today's episode is a little different. We're here with the human highlight reel, Uriah Hall. And instead of the cycle, today we're sparring. So let's make this short and sweet. No talking, no walkthroughs, let's spar. Today is an advanced episode of The Hooks. Some gyms just have their own mystique. Mark Munoz's Rain Training Center was one of them. It closed this year when Mark retired, but some of the baddest MMA fighters in the world trained here and had some of the most intense sessions we've ever seen. We were there for a sparring session with the UFC's Uriah Hall, who unleashes his arsenal of strikes, feints, footwork, and most of all, his famous spinning kicks. This one's fast and furious. Let's get to it. We're going to look at a few different sequences to Uriah's striking and focus on three main areas: managing distance against pressure fighters, setting up spinning attacks, and baiting your opponent into attacking you with strikes you can counter. You'll notice one of the first things Uriah does is hold out both of his hands, touching my gloves. This is a tricky way for him to both gauge distance and smother any punches I might throw. Even if I fire off a punch around or through his gloves, he's going to take speed and power off the punch and give himself another moment to defend. This is a great frustrating tactic for fighters with long arms. You'll notice as Uriah moves around, he often shifts between orthodox and southpaw stance. If you don't do this technique correctly, you can find yourself out of position to throw strikes. But if you're well balanced like Uriah, you're always in position to throw quickly. Take this front knee. Uriah had just pulled his left front foot back to be his rear support. Seeing that stance shift, I move in for a takedown feint. But Uriah remains well balanced and is able to lift his right knee, now his front foot, and catch me. It doesn't even have to be hard. My own momentum makes it a powerful strike. Immediately after the knee, Uriah makes a very important decision. He moves across my left, away from my power right hand. This is a mistake so many fighters make. They escape across their opponent's power hand, which can open them up to a huge cross or overhand punch. When you make the harder escape across my jab, there's no way I can hit him with a power shot, and in fact have to reposition myself in order to hit him with anything. This sequence shows two variations of counters of the kick. Here I make the mistake of throwing a single rear leg kick to Uriah's leg. 9 out of 10 times he's going to just absorb that and counter with a hard cross before I get back in position. This is why if you're going to throw this kick, you need to move your head off center because that cross is probably coming. Now this is a variation of the counter we just saw. When I throw the outside leg kick, Uriah pulls it back for just a second, then moves forward with both the leg and the left hand. I defend the punch, but that punch is really a setup. Now that he's closed the distance and I'm not well positioned to escape, he's got a whole array of right-handed strikes, kicks, knees, and takedowns to work with here. One sloppy kick and I'm in a lot of trouble. This sequence shows what happens when you try to stalk a great kicker down a straight line. As Uriah baits me to follow him, he keeps good distance and I walk right into a spinning backside kick. Even though I'm doing the right thing and defending my head well, my midsection is wide open. This can be a fight-ending kick. Let's break down Uriah's technique. First, notice his plant foot. He's up on his toes, which gives him less contact with the ground, less friction, and more speed. Notice the most important thing. He's looking over his shoulder at his target. This is the leading reason why spinning kicks miss, because the person kicking hasn't gotten their head around to see what they're kicking. Finally, your head needs to be somewhat over your hips. If you're bent way over one way or the other, you'll spin off balance and have no power. Now, if he wanted to, all he had to do is extend his leg back and make contact. Thankfully, he spares me. Uriah does another important thing after his kick. He sticks his jab out as a distance keeper. If you do miss your spinning kick, Opponents will often take that opportunity to close distance for short strikes or a takedown. Be prepared to move off angle or get a jab out to maintain your distance. Again, Uriah switches stance while he moves away. Try and add this to your game. If you can throw strikes well from both stances, it can be a real problem for your opponent. Now this is a Floyd Mayweather specialty, the check hook. As I move in behind my jab, Uriah throws a front hand hook and spins out. He hits me and puts me out of position. This is a great technique against aggressive fighters who are trying to pressure you. Uriah deals with more aggression in this sequence. As I try for a takedown, he does a few things. First, he hooks under my arm with his right hand. If he controls my head with his other hand, I'm open to a whole array of knees and throws. But here he's just using the technique to escape off angle. That's an important thing. A lot of people defend takedowns by either sprawling out or going strength against strength. It can work, but it's very tiring. Getting an underhook on either side and escaping off angle not only gets you out of danger, but once again, it gets your opponent out of position. And getting a pressure fighter out of position tires them out and frustrates them. Remember, the reason why Uriah escaped is that he wants to maintain distance. So when I turn to face him and close again, I'm supplying the force for another spinning attack. Here it is again, high on the ball of his foot, looking at his target, head well aligned over his hips. I can only defend one area at a time, and my midsection is exposed again. Here Uriah is still switching stances, and now switching levels. Now this is a risky tactic. Uriah's hands are down, and his head is much closer to a rear leg kick. You have to be careful here, and not hang out too long like this. But notice that Uriah is watching the center of my body, waiting to counter on any strikes. Don't look at your opponent's eyes. Look at their chest or midsection. That tells you which limb is coming. Notice that he's in a southpaw stance, which is a bit safer for this technique. If I do throw a big power shot with either my right hand or leg, Uriah can swing his back foot out to escape, and I have to reposition to face him. As Uriah moves, we see another check hook, but with a new wrinkle. This time he throws it right after switching to southpaw. This hip switching, along with my movement toward him, gives the check hook even more power. Now look at the angle of Uriah's hand. He's throwing a version of the European hook, which means his thumb is facing towards his chest. This is different from the more powerful American hook, which has the thumb facing up. The European hook is both longer and more defensive than other varieties of hooks, so it's great for Uriah's style of movement and distance. He uses a lot of other trickery here, like little uppercuts, stance switching, head movements, and other gimmicks. It's all to frustrate me and keeping me chasing him around the ring, which is not only tiring, but opens me up for attacks. In this sequence, we work on some little used front leg attacks. If you're facing a pressure fighter, attacking the front leg slows them down. It doesn't have to be just kicks. Here, Uriah switches levels and jabs my front leg quad. It may not seem like a devastating blow, but they add up over a fight. The major note here is that you really have to change levels, your whole body. If you don't, you leave yourself very exposed. This is a get in and get out kind of move. Now, if we wind it back a touch, notice how Uriah steps off angle before striking my leg. This small adjustment keeps him safer as he switches levels for the strike. If he just stepped forward as you do with a jab, he'd be much more vulnerable to knees, hooks, and crosses. Another sneaky attack is a straight kick to the quad. You can do this with either matching or opposing leads. Here, Uriah is using his rear leg and really digging that heel into my leg. It's more powerful than the ball of the foot, and it really adds up as the fight moves on. The other advantage of these leg kicks is that it completely shuts down my forward movement. Any forward momentum I had going is neutralized, and I have to regroup. Very frustrating. All of these leg attacks start to send subliminal messages to your opponent. They want to attack with the limbs that are getting hit. You're using the old Jeet Kune Do strategy of attack by draw. Now for a fighter like Uriah, that's good, because pressure fighters can often be off balance when throwing kicks, and he can use that flaw to attack on the counter. Here I throw a little inside leg kick. He's been waiting for that, because lead inside leg kicks are rarely the beginning of a combination. They're usually just a single shot. So while I'm drawing my leg back to its regular stance, Uriah's already begun his spinning attack. Same drill, weight on the ball of the foot, head over hips, looking at the target. Head, hips, leg. He's hit me with so many shots to the midsection that I'm drawing my elbows together to defend. That means that he can now bring that heel up and around my gloves for a fight-ending headshot. And it was due to attacking my legs and setting it up with previous spinning attacks to the midsection. After that butt kicking, I need some rest. But make sure you try out Uriah's advanced techniques and share them on our Facebook page. And thanks to our sponsors, Fighter Girls and Throwdown. And we'll see you next time on The Hooks. Sink 'em in.